Hi entrepreneurs, I'm Sharon and you are watching Nuts Accounting, where accounting is as easy as nuts. This channel is all about helping online entrepreneurs and small business owners to do your own accounting and to grow your business. Today's topic is Malaysia's GST transitioning from 6% to 0% and how you as the online entrepreneur or small business owner and what you need to do and what you need to know in order to ensure that your business has a smooth transition during this period. So let's dive into the information right now. Okay, Malaysia GST transition to 0% for online entrepreneurs and small business owners. I've summarized a few points that you would need to know in order to have a smooth transition for your GST. The first thing that you need is your selling price, and then of course your tax code and your tax invoice. And also we will talk about the GST submission and also GST Act 2014 and also the GST audit, and not to forget about the penalty as well. Okay, here's a very simple introduction to Malaysia GST. If you haven't heard about it, Malaysia GST stands for Goods and Services Tax Act 2014. It has started in 1st April 2014, while the standard rate was set at 6% at that time. So it's still maintained at 6% up until today, and today is the last day. Okay, during the recent Malaysia election, Pakatan Harapan has won the election and has taken over the country as the new government. And one of their manifesto is they will abolish GST. So right now, what they did is, Tun Dr. Mahathir has already announced that the GST 6% will be replaced by GST 0%. Do bear in mind that this GST Act is a law and it cannot be just abolished immediately, just throw away the paper or something. It cannot be done like that because there's a lot of impact and a lot of situation that needs to be considered, especially on the businesses part. Like for example, if you are a GST registered business owner, there will be some invoices from your supplier that you have not received yet, but still being charged for GST because it's incurred during this 6% era. So if you receive that invoice later during the month of June or probably 1 year down the road, you will want to still be able to claim back your GST input tax because you are liable for that and you are eligible for that. So that's why you would like to claim it back. So if they totally just abolish it overnight, you will not have the chance to do that. So what happens is they change the word 6% to become 0%. So the only thing that changed with effect from 1st of June 2018 is just the percentage value of the GST. And it also means there's no longer monetary value. How to say this? Like for example, as an end consumer, when you go and purchase something, when you go shopping and you buy some products, there's no longer GST being charged to you. So at the eyes of the end consumer, yes, there's no longer GST. But you as the business owner, and if you are a GST registrant, you are still liable to comply with the GST Act because GST Act is still active. It's just there's no monetary value in the GST. So there's another few more changes that has been issued during Tun Dr. Mahathir's announcement, which is the revoke of zero rated, relief, designated area, free zone, and also application to government. Okay, the first thing that you will need to look at is your selling price. Selling price can be set at two different formats. the first format is the price tag excluding of GST. If you fall into this category, good news for you, everything is quite easy for you. The transition will be quite easy for you in terms of setting your price tag. Okay, let's look at this situation. Up to 31st of May, how you calculate for your sales and your GST would be the selling price exclusive of GST, which is 1,000 ringgit, and then you calculate 6% on top of the 1,000 ringgit, which is 60 ringgit, and your selling price inclusive of GST is 1,060 ringgit. So you will need to ask your customer to pay you 1,060 ringgit during the GST 6% era. So what happens during the after 1st June 2018? The GST will now be 0%. So what happens is if your selling price is 1,000 ringgit, then there's no longer GST, so you will need to collect from your customer 1,000 ringgit as well. So how do you manage this change during this transition? You will need to ensure that these three columns will still remain at 1,000 ringgit, which means 1,000 ringgit is just my example. So if your price is 500 ringgit, then it's 500 ringgit on all these three columns. So bear in mind that you will need to set this price the same as per during the GST 6% tax rate, the same as your exclusive GST price. Okay, we will talk more about this later in the following few slides, why this is so important for you to maintain it the same. Okay, the second scenario will be your price tag is inclusive of GST already. So this is commonly happen in supermarket items, where the supermarket items are usually embedded the GST into it, or some company they prefer to use the word that they absorb GST for the consumer, but actually they just mark up the price for that 6%. But anyway, coming back to this, in this example, during the GST 6% era, the selling price inclusive of GST is 550 ringgit. So you will need to reverse calculate back the mechanism to get the amount of GST and also the selling price exclusive of GST. So how do you calculate that? Would be you take 550. 550 is actually consists of 106%, which is your selling price is 100%, GST is 6%, so 100 plus 6 is 106%. So your selling price inclusive of GST is 106%. You will need to take 550, divide by 106, and then times 100 to get your exclusive price, and then you can times 6 to get your GST amount. So in this example, 518.87 is before GST price, and your GST is 31.13. So what should you do if you fall into this category during the 1st of June? Okay, very simple, very easy, just the same as per the previous one, where your selling price exclusive GST must remains the same as per your selling price after the 1st of June. So you can see here, these three columns still remains the same, just like the previous slide of price tag excluding GST. Okay. If you fall into this category and you have a lot of items that you need to change your price tag, don't worry about it. That I'm sure that you are very worried that you will need to do everything by tonight because tomorrow is a new price already. Don't worry about it, because later on in the next few slides, we will talk about the way to help you to manage it. Okay, if you fall into the second category just now, you see that your price got 518.87 cents, right? It's very difficult for you to collect your money from your customer. Hey, give me 87 cents, right? And some businesses, they might not even want to collect coins at all. They will prefer to have the price to be rounded to the nearest ringgit. So if you would like to exercise this, what you need to do is 518.87. You can choose to round down, which is you can round down to 518.80. If you don't want the 7 cents, you can round it to 80 cents. Or if you don't want any coins at all, you can round down to the nearest ringgit, which is 518 ringgit. But some businesses, they would prefer to round it up and gain a little profit on that extra margin. So if you round it up to 518.95 or even 519, you may not be able to do so. You cannot do so, I would say. You cannot round up your price. You can only round down, you cannot round it up. So why do I say that? It's because of anti-profiteering. So if you round it up, even if it's just a little bit of money, like probably just a few cents or even a few ringgits, you might think that it's not that much amount of money. But Customs has already announced that they will look very, very closely onto the prices after 1st of June to ensure that the businesses does not take this opportunity to earn more money out of it. Because I believe a lot of businesses, they just want to remain the price as during the era of GST 6%, and then they want to earn the additional 6% as their own extra profit. But if you would like to do that, do take note that Customs has already voiced out that they will take action, very strong legal action against you if you do that, and it's against the anti-profiteering. Alright, so if you have a lot of price tags to change, what you need to do is Customs has an allowance of 1 month before 1st of July 2018. They give you 30 days, 1 month grace period for you to do your changes. And what you need to do is the old price tag that you have, you can slowly do the changes, but you must make sure that you complete before 1st of July. And then you will need to put a very big notice at your cashier to notify your customer that GST is now at 6%, and the GST will, although the prices displayed is with GST, the GST will be deducted at the point of payment. So put up this notice at your cashier and then try to work as fast as possible to change all of your price tag, and once it is done, you may remove your notice already. Okay, the next point is tax invoices. Tax invoices, you will need to understand back to the basic of GST for the time of supply rules to determine your GST should be charged at 6% or 0%. So if your goods or services being delivered before 31st May, okay, now let's look at the first row. The goods or services delivered before 31st May, on or before, but your tax invoice is issued later on the 1st of June, then you will need to charge your GST at 6% rate. So remember to tell, if there are certain customers that tells you, hey, can you give me the goods first, then you issue the invoice later during 1st of June so that I don't need to pay GST? So if they ask you to do that for them, please don't comply to that, because this is violating the time of supply for the GST rules. So in general, I would say that the goods or the services delivery date is the determination of your GST, whether it's a 6% or a 0%. If they want to enjoy the GST 0% tax rate, they will need to get their goods or services delivered on or after 1st of June and the tax invoice to be issued at that time as well. Okay, the third situation is the payment received during the GST 6% era or the tax invoice is being issued during the 6% era, but the goods or services delivered during the GST 0% era, which is after 1st of June. This, if based on the rules of the time supply, is supposed to be considered as a 6% GST. But during the FAQ, one of the FAQ item, custom has mentioned that they will provide some leniency in this and say that businesses, GST registered businesses may issue a credit note to offset back the 6% in as a favor to the rakyat. But of course, if you don't want things to get complicated, during the 1st of June, you just issue one credit note that will reverse all of your tax invoice completely, and then you reissue a new one. Okay. What happens during a partial delivery? For example, if your customer has ordered two products, product A and product B, but you deliver product A on 31st of May and you deliver product B probably 1 week later when you receive the stock, then it's already past the June timeline. So you will need to split out your products, and your GST will be calculated based on the delivery date. So your goods delivery for product A will be considered at 6% and your product B is at 0%. So your tax invoice need to issue these two products with two different GST tax rates. This is a sample of your tax invoice. So in this example, the big tax invoice here that you see on the left is the current tax invoice, where your tax code is SR, your tax rate is 6%, and there's a calculation of total tax at the bottom of the page. So what happens after the 1st of June? You will need to change your tax code to SR0. The SR0 is not an O, it's the number 0, SR0 as your tax code, and your tax percentage is 0%. And then your total tax at the bottom should show 0.00. This is for the items that's considered as 0% after 1st of June. Yeah? Okay, GST 03 form. There are certain changes in the GST 03 form based on Tun Dr. Mahathir's announcement. So when you prepare to file and submit your GST 03 form, you usually fill in the field of 5A, 5B, 6A and 6B for your standard rated supply to your customers for 5A and 5B, and the standard rated purchases from your supplier on 6A and 6B. So what happens right now after 1st of June? Your current tax code, which is the SR tax code, there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 tax codes that's currently in use will be changed to a new tax code called SR0. Okay, just a quick note, SR0 is just a suggested tax code from customs. If your system could not accommodate more than 2 characters, because certain systems they cannot accommodate more than 2 characters, if in that situation you may change your code to probably S0 or something like that, as long as you are able to differentiate SR and SR0 is different codes. So SR, SRMS, DS, ZDA, RS, GS, ZRL, these are all changed to SR0. Okay, if you look at it, the deemed supply export of goods ZDA, release supply, disregarded local zero rated supply, these are all revoked. That is why these tax codes are no longer applicable, because they have cancelled it out, they have already revoked it. So what you need to do is to use SR0 from 1st June onwards. Okay, for your credit note, if you would need to issue credit notes, there is two situations here. The first situation is your tax invoice, the original tax invoice, was issued on or before 31st of May. That means when you sell to your customer, GST of 6% has already been charged onto that particular item. So after 1st of June, your customer comes back to you and say, I would need to return these certain products and please issue back a credit note to me. So during this situation, although it's already during the 0% GST era, when you issue your credit note, you must still issue a credit note with a 6% GST in it as well. The reason why is you have already charged 6% GST on that particular product. So now when it's being returned, the GST must be returned to your customer as well. But bear in mind that one of the criteria of the credit note that you are issuing must have reference to the original invoice. So don't simply just issue with 0% credit note because it's already 1st of June. You must really find out this particular goods, when was it purchased and whether GST was charged or not. Okay, the second scenario is if the customer returns the product which is purchased after the 1st of June period, which means there's no GST, is 0%. So when they return also, your credit note must be 0% as well. Purchases. For purchases, just a very general surface that we are going to touch on purchases because nothing much has changed for your claiming of GST. As long as you receive a tax invoice from supplier that has been charged with GST and every criteria has been fulfilled, then you may claim for your GST. And meanwhile, the tax code, if your supplier give you a tax invoice with 0% GST, you may fill in the tax code of TX0, which is a new tax code as well, separate from the old TX code. So now the new tax code is TX0 and the field remains at 6A. And then you are still able to claim your supplier invoices as long as it is within 6 years from the invoice date. If the GST is already at 0%, one of the tips here is you no longer need to be so strict on checking the document from your supplier, because during the GST 6% era, there are a lot of criteria that you need to fulfill that once you fulfill all of the criteria, only you are able to claim for your GST input tax on that particular invoice. For example, your company name must be correct and even must be spelled correctly. Your company address must be exactly the same as per your registered address in your GST TAP system. And also your tax invoice number, your tax invoice date, and all those other criteria that must be fulfilled. If any one of it does not fulfill the criteria from custom, you cannot claim at all. But now that GST is already at 0%, you are no longer claiming that invoice, claiming the input tax from customs, right? So that means you no longer need to be so strict on those kind of details must display in the invoice itself, and you keep asking your supplier to amend the invoice for you, which I have done previously a lot of times. So now, even if the supplier gives you a commercial invoice and not a tax invoice, you are still able to accept it. But of course, you might want to give a gentle reminder to your supplier that they are still liable to comply with the GST Act to issue a tax invoice instead of commercial invoice. Oh yeah, coming back to the tax invoice, yeah. Please take note that everything that you are doing right now in your tax invoice, like the word tax invoice must be there, and your invoice number and your date, the invoice number must be in series, and your date and the tax code, the tax percentage, everything that you see here, like even your GST tax number as well, every criteria here that has been set out previously in the GST Act 2014, you will still need to fulfill it even though now the GST is at 0%. Everything remains the same, just the tax code, the tax percentage, and the GST amount, the monetary value, is 0. Okay, please remember, and really remember that everything is the same. Don't just go back to the old way of issuing commercial invoice or do things differently. Okay, so just keep everything the same as what you are doing right now, just that the tax percentage becomes 0 and everything should be fine for you. All right, okay, the next one, GST Act 2014. As mentioned earlier, GST Act 2014 is a is a law. So in this law, they have not announced on the abolishment or the scrap of the law yet. So everything that is listed in the GST Act 2014 remains unchanged, except for the first few ones that I've already mentioned earlier, which is the GST change from 6% to 0% and the revoke of all those special orders like the zero rated and all those things. But the rest of it remains unchanged, and you must still comply to GST Act 2014. Things that some of the example that I would some of the part of GST Act that I would like to highlight is the GST registration, deregistration, the GST submission, the bad debt relief, GST audit, and also the penalties in relation to GST is still active, and it's still you must still be in compliance to all of this until further announcement. Okay, so we don't know yet when they will announce to abolish it and everything to go to scrap, but right now we do not have any news yet. So right now you are still liable and you are still responsible to be in compliance to GST Act 2014, and you must keep your record for 7 years, remember, because GST audit, they will look for documents up to 7 years. So don't just throw away all your documents yet. Just keep it for 7 years, just as how you would do it when GST is active. Okay? Okay, some links in the information here that I've presented is obtained from the Malaysia Customs website and also from the FAQ from Malaysia Custom. So these links, you can find the links in the description below. So you may go and check it out and read through all the FAQ, hopefully before tomorrow. So you will be more prepared to do the transitioning tomorrow, starting tomorrow. All right, so let's see on any Q&A at the moment. Okay, we will go through the tax invoice section of the FAQ. So let's go through the tax invoice of the FAQ. Okay, the FAQ, okay, just want to quickly show you how you can get it. This is Customs main website, and you can see here there's some notice here, and also if you will see all these parinta being revoked. This is the zero rated, this is the relief, and all these kind of things you can just read through. Okay, so now I've provided this link to you in the description below, so go and check it out, and you will come to this page of the frequently asked question, transitional 6% to 0%. When you click here, this file will open up. So do bear in mind that customs is still in the midst of changing and updating of the things, so this is not final. Like, even since the announcement from Tun Dr. Mahathir that GST will be changed to 0%, there has been 4 different versions being uploaded to this website already, and things change and they say different things at different times. But anyway, they did mention here that the FAQ dated 24th May, which is the one before this, the version before this, is now cancelled. So this, the FAQ of 25th May that you can see here, the date is here. This is the one that's supersede the previous ones. Okay, so now let's look at, you can check out all this FAQ here. The first part is the status of GST. The second part is about the registration. The third part is about the deregistration. So I would like you to focus and read through about the fourth part, which is the tax invoice. In this fourth part, the tax invoice, there's quite a number of questions and answers here, especially on how you should issue your invoice and what are the rates that you should use, whether it's a 6% or 0%, and also what are the scenarios that's possible that customs could come up with, and they give you an example here. But of course, certain businesses will have different scenarios, so you will really have to look through the act and see and determine the tax rate based on the time of supply rules, and also all the others as per mentioned in the GST Act 2014. Okay, so back to here. Okay, so my nutty question for today is, are you ready for GST transition? Do you have, and also if you have any accounting questions or accounting topic that you would like to learn, do let me know in the comment section as well, because I would like to love to hear from you and know what you would like to learn. Okay. So I'm going to land the plane now. Okay. If you like this video, subscribe and share it to your friends. If you find this video helpful, click the like button and give me a like, or even comment and say hi and engage with me at the comment section below. As always, Nuts Accounting is here to help you to grow your business and to do your own accounting. And if you want more awesome resources and some personal insights from me, you can sign up for Nuts Accounting newsletter at nutsaccounting.com. And plus, on top of that, you will get a free accounting checklist just for you. So let's go nuts about accounting to do your own accounts and grow your business. So I'll catch you next time at Nuts Accounting. Bye bye!